Liability Issues and Disaster by Sarah Salisis. When a disaster occurs, someone has to be there to pick up the pieces and take responsibility. With some types of disasters, like technological and man-made disasters, it is a little easier to pinpoint exactly who is liable. For example, after the 3 Mile Island nuclear meltdown, the federal government conducted investigations of the disaster and concluded it was a combination of mechanical failures and human inadequacy that caused it. In this case, it was easy to find the specific actors who were at fault, could be held liable, and also have to deal with recovery and compensate residents and citizens. With some disasters, it is not so easy to lay the blame, however. Natural disasters are definitely where the biggest liability issues come into play. Although there is no one to specifically blame when it comes to natural disasters like hurricanes, there are usually insurance policies that cover some of the damage done. The government also usually takes steps to make sure property owners engage in measures that can reduce the damage incurred during a natural disaster or even reduce the frequency of a disaster happening. For example, all kinds of structural enhancements can be done to buildings to limit harm done to them by hurricanes. The government can provide homeowners with information about these measures, provide financial incentives for homeowners to take immediate action, and/or penalize them if they fail to take action. Even if the government takes all the preventative measurements possible, they are still liable for damages and loss when a natural disaster does occur. When this happens, it is the government's responsibility to pick up the pieces both for individual citizens and the overall community. The government has to provide countless services after a disaster strikes. It is understood that they are the only ones truly liable for damage in public areas like roads, beaches, parks, and neighborhoods. They have a responsibility to clear debris from roads and make sure public buildings and authorities are up and running ASAP. When it comes to personal property, the owner's private insurance is liable to pay for damages under what is covered. The government also has responsibility in this situation to make sure insurance companies pay for what is covered in the policies that citizens have, and it's the government's responsibility to take them to court if they do not. The government will also step in when the private insurance market fails to cover property losses from certain disasters and offer the purchase of missing coverage or work with insurers to force them to provide coverage. To conclude, liability issues usually occur depending on what kind of disaster occurs. With man-made and technological disasters, the company or individual that caused the disaster are usually liable. With natural disasters, the government is mainly liable, but insurers have a responsibility to do their part.